Welcome my dear students. Let me introduce myself. Myself Mrs. M. Arunjunai Selvi, Assistant Professor from Department of Computer Science, Regular from the Standard Hierarchs Rajaratnam College for Women, Sivagasi. In this video lesson, we are going to learn about OSI architecture from computer network. Okay, hope you all know something about OSI architecture. Let's have a glimpse of what are the learning objectives of our course. So in this session, we are going to learn about what is an OSI model, layers of the OSI model, how data flows in the OSI model. OSI, what is that? OSI is nothing but it is an open system interconnection model, which is nothing but a set of rules that each and every computer in the network follows to communicate over a network. So OSI model was framed by the International Organization for Standards. There are 7 layers in the OSI model. Each and every layer will have its own purpose and its responsibilities. The function of one layer will depend on the next layer, which will be given as the input for the next layer. So each and every layer is important here. This layered approach makes it easier for different devices and technologies to work together. If there was any complication in any one of these layers, which leads to a technical error or network failure. So here comes the layers of OSI model. There are 7 layers in the OSI model, which was listed here. They are physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer, session layer, presentation layer and application layer. So this is a diagram that depicts the purpose of each and every layer in the OSI architecture. So we have to discuss from the bottom to the top. The first layer is the physical layer and we have to move until the 7th layer. Let's get into the layers. The first one, which is the physical layer. This is the lowest layer of the OSI reference model. It is responsible for the actual physical connection between the devices. This is what we will see in our computers. The physical layer contains information in the form of bits. Hope you all know what is a bit. A bit is nothing but a value that is either zeros or ones. The physical layer is responsible for transmitting individual bits from source to the destination, that is from one node to the next node. When receiving the data, this layer will get the signal received from the sender and convert the data into zeros and ones and send them back to the data link layer of the receiver end. For this, to achieve this, there are so many devices needed. Some of the commonly used physical layer devices were mentioned here. They are hub, repeaters, modems and cables. So look at the example picture given below, the sender data, binary codes and the receiver code. The next layer is the data link layer. The data link layer is responsible for the node to node delivery of the message. The main objective of this data link layer is to provide a data transfer in an error-free manner, that is error-free data from one node to the another over the physical layer. When a packet arrives in a network, when a packet of data arrives in a network, it is the responsibility of the data link layer to transmit it to the host using its MAC address. The packets in the data link layer is referred to as a frame. Here also there are some commonly used components. They are switches and bridges. The data link layer is further classified into logical link control and media access control. These are the things regarding the second layer. Then what are the functions which was done in the data link layer is framing, physical addressing, error control, flow control and access control. The next layer is the network layer. The network layer works for the transmission of data from one host to the other host located in the different network. It also takes care of packet routing, that is selection of the shortest path to transmit the packet from the number of routes available. The sender and the receiver's IP address are placed in the header of each and every packets. The segment in the network layer is referred as packet. The network layer is implemented by some of the networking devices like routers and switches. The picture below describes the functioning of network layer. Then what are the functions done by the network layer are routing and logical addressing. The next layer is the transport layer. It is the most important layer in the OSI architecture. The transport layer provides services to the application layer and takes services from the network layer. The data in the transport layer is referred to as segments. It is responsible for the end-to-end delivery of the complete message. The transport layer also provides the acknowledgement of the successful data transmission and retransmits the data if an error is occurred. This is very, very important because data transfer must reach the destination at a right time and at a same content and with the same content. For this, the transport layer make use of some common protocols like TCP, UDP, PPTP and NetBIOS. So let us imagine at the server side, what is the purpose of data link layer? At the server side, the transport layer receives the formatted data from the upper layers and performs segmentation, and also it implements flow and error control to ensure proper data transmission. It also adds source and destination port number in its header and forwards the segmented data to the network layer. Then at the destination, what it will do? At the destination, the transport layer reads the port number from its header and forwards the data which it has received at the respective application. It also performs sequencing and reassembling of the segmented data. Then what are the functions of transport layer? The main purpose is the segmentation and the reassembling and service point addressing, which is what I have mentioned in the figure below. Getting into the next layer, session layer. As the name implies, session means timing. So session layer in the OSI model is responsible for the establishment of connections, management of connection and termination of sessions between two devices. Let us imagine there are two devices which wants to communicate A and B. So establish the connection, manage the connection or use the connection, terminate the connection. These are the three steps which will be taken care by the session layer. To achieve this, it makes use of some protocols like NetBIOS and PPTP protocols. Okay. What is the outcome of the session layer? It provides authentication and security. Okay. What are the functions done by the session layer are session establishment, maintenance and termination as well as synchronization. So the picture below describes the session layer. The next layer is the presentation layer. Presentation layer is also called as the translation layer. The data from the application layer is extracted here and manipulated as per the required format to transmit over the network. To achieve this, they are using some protocols like TLS and SSL, that is Transport Layer Security Protocol and Secure Sockets Layer Protocol. Okay. The other important function of the presentation layer is the encryption and the decryption, which is nothing but with the help of encoding and decoding, it will encrypt the data. Then coming into the functions of presentation layer, as I discussed earlier, the main objective of the presentation layer is to translate, encrypt, decrypt and the compression. So here comes the picture, look at the picture and learn. The last layer is the application layer. This is the very top of the OSI reference model. Application layer is implemented by the network applications, which is nothing but what we are seeing on the web page. Imagine when you search something on a web page, you type the mail address, you will get something on the screen. That screen will interact with us. This is called as the application layer, which provides interaction between the user and the server. Okay. These applications produce the data to be transferred over the network. This layer also serves as a window for the application services to access the network and for displaying the received information to the user, which means you submit a request, The system will process the request and give you the needed data. The protocols used by the application layer are SMTP, FTP and DNS. So what are the functions done by the application layer are network virtual terminals, mail services, directory services, and what are all the services we do on the internet will be handled by the application layer. This is a user interface where we interact with the computer. So let us have a discussion about how data flows in the OSI model. So the topmost layer, that is the application layer, will create the data, and presentation layer, in the presentation layer the data was formatted and it was encrypted. In the session layer the connections were established and managed. Once the connections was established, the transport layer broke the data into segments for reliable delivery. After the data was broken, the network layer segments the data and data are packaged into packets and it was routed towards the data link layer. The data link layer, in the data link layer the packets are again framed into small parts and it was sent to the next device. The physical layer, the frames are converted into binary codes and it was transmitted to the physical layer of the receiver side. Let us discuss about it with a small example. Let us consider a person A sends an email to the friend person B. First step, person A interacts with the email application like Gmail or other web pages, writes his email and send. At the presentation layer, the mail was encrypted and it was formatted and it was translated. In the step 3, the session layer, there is a connection established between the sender and the receiver. If both the sender and the receiver was online, the mail will be delivered immediately, otherwise the mail will be sent to the receiver. Later on it will be delivered to the receiver. In the step 4, the transport layer, otherwise the translation layer, the email is broken into smaller segments and it adds a sequence number so that the packets, the segments will receive in the same order that the sender sends. For example, if the message was divided into 4 segments, 1, 2 and 3 and 4, the segments must reach the receiver in the same order to maintain the continuation. Okay. So it adds sequence number and error checking information to maintain the reliability of the information. So the step 5 is, at the network layer, the addressing of packets is done in order to find the best route to transfer. Here the best route for the data transfer will be finalized. At the data link layer, the data packets are encapsulated into frames. The MAC address is added to each and every frame and it was further moved to the physical layer. The last step, at the physical layer, the frames are transmitted in the form of binary codes over a physical network medium like Ethernet cables or Wi-Fi. After the email reaches the receiver, that is a person B, when he was active or otherwise when he was online at that time, the mail will reach him at the moment after doing the decryption process. But when the person is not available, it will be sent to him later on. Okay. At the receiver end, the decryption process will happen and the email content will be delivered to the person B. Hope you have learnt innovative idea about OSI architecture. Many of you may get confused about how the OSI will work. By looking at my video, you could have a conclusion that how data transfers from application layer towards the physical layer and later from the receiver side from physical layer to the application layer. Thank you for watching my video, my dear friends. Thank you.